Well, hello! It's time for episode 26 of The Condescending Evangelist. Last week I talked about pride and humility, and um, it does take a lot of work to be humble, I think. I don't think people recognize what real humility really is. It really just boils down to knowing you don't know the whole story. That's really what it is. In human beings, it's impossible to know the whole story. Even we can have the scriptures. It's all embedded in the scriptures, I believe. But see, only God really understands. Because he's the only one who sees things from his vantage point. Let me read Psalm 53, 1 through verse 1 through 3. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. The fool says in his heart, an atheist. Think about an atheist who says it openly. I can get into something regarding that. But let me just keep going. They are corrupt, their ways are vile, there is no one who does good. God looks down from heaven upon the sons of men to see if any understand, if any seek God. All have turned away. They have together become corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. From God's vantage point, that's the truth. And it's just, that's really what it boils down to. Humility versus pride. Pride is basically believing you think you know it all. Look, I was a teenager. I was 18 once. I thought I understood it all. And I realized, and I thought I understood more when I was older. And then I realized, well, no. And so it has to have that moment. You have to have that moment at some point in your life, I think. To truly repent is just to recognize God is the Most High. I'm not. I'm going to trust His ways. I'm going to learn His ways. I'm going to follow His ways best I can. And you really can only do it with the help of the Holy Spirit. So it's like it boils down to that's what it is. What humility is. And I know I talk about family at times, and I don't really mean to be, a certain way, but part of it is because, well, I've explained it. I don't need to go into more explanation. But, it's also in a work environment, too. It's important, a follower of Christ must be able to, it's more about how you act, I think, than it is how you, it's just what it is. A servant is not above his master. And so I've worked in various environments. And let me tell you, I've worked with people We just thought they knew better than the bosses. And I keep seeing that dynamic over and over. I could talk about something specific that happened earlier this week. It's hilarious how I talk about pride and humility and how like it's important to be humble. I'm not going to go into details, but it's just important, you know, regardless of your own circumstances. You know, if you work for someone, like I said, I don't want to go too much into what happened, what I observed. But I saw pride on display. Now, I could say it on both sides. From my vantage point, I saw it on. I'll just without. I don't want to out people. I won't. But I saw it on both sides. You know, and I just want to point out, like, you know, if you work for someone, if you work for someone, you're not their slave, but you're also you're not their boss. The boss is the boss. But even the boss isn't the Most High. And so I've dealt with this type of thing, you know, a lot of times where the boss kind of acts like the Most High. You know, and I think what goes on there, I'm not going to say that they're fools. They don't believe in God, but I think they think they're on the same level. But then they do realize, well, there's levels above them. Most of them do realize this. But see, and then, like I said, I'm a former state employee. And okay, let's talk about the governor. Okay, the governor of this state. You know what? I can even play a video clip before I talk about it. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, that's not it. Hang on. I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, here it is. This is Governor Pritzker on Stephen Colbert. This is, I think, a few years ago.
And then goes right over.
Okay, let me just play this clip.
You already have some crazy districts in Illinois. Take a look at this. Look at 17 here. It does that, then it comes up here and it sneaks around there and goes all the way up here, and then goes right over there like that. And look at this one, kind of goes whoop up there. It's like the stinger on a scorpion down here. Is this common for all states to do?
Well, we handed it over to a kindergarten class and let them decide.
Okay, that's the nonpartisan group that does this
Absolutely.
for you guys?
That's our independent commission, you know. That is, yeah. I mean, look.
Okay, so independent commission. Now, so what's going on with Texas, right? They're voting on new map, and what happens? The Texas legislatures, they go to Illinois. And you got Pritzker out there talking about how Trump's trying to gerrymander Texas, and it's an independent. No, it's not an independent commission. It is the state legislature, you dope, that draws up the maps. He's got to be the dumbest governor, I think, in the history of governors. I think he likes to see himself on TV, and he prefers. He wants to run for president, and so he thinks he just has to torch Trump any chance he gets. And he thinks this, he thinks most people, because people, he thinks that who's going to care about Illinois? Even in like a couple years, on some level, he's right, because I mean, I've observed how people vote, and it's like, people can't connect the dots. They don't. But beyond that, pride. I mean, he's putting pride on display. Charge the phone. He's putting. He's showing his pride is showing. It's been showing. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The fool in his heart says there's no God. I mean, he basically is a fool, as I see it. And then, I think about atheists who say it out loudly. What are they? Well, and then God points it out. No one follows. No one's good. No one's righteous. And so then it boils down to what? Humility. See, Jesus had to do what he did at the cross to kind of show what humility, to demonstrate real humility, number one. But also, it's our fire insurance, in essence. Well, and I've been, it boils down, like I said, it boils down to humility. And like I said, I could talk about something specific that I observed that I'm like, yeah, this is pride, both sides. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you work for a company, the boss is the boss. If you're an employee, you got to show humility. I don't care what your circumstances are. The boss also needs to understand, I think, the situation a little bit. I think I'll say this. I have a degree in technology. Without, like I said, going into details, I can speak to something specifically because what was being stated, I kind of ran into a similar ordeal. And the boss, like I said, I have to be careful with what I say. I don't want to go into too much. What I know is pride was on both sides. Lack of humility was not there. There wasn't humility. Humility wasn't very, and even throughout the whole situation, or this kind of messy situation. I'm going to have some conversations. I'm just saying, because there is an issue. That it's. I kind of think I know part of the issue. And that's why I can't go into details, but it's like, Illinois, this is what happens when pride runs amok. Illinois is a problem. There's the level of humility is, the level of pride is off the charts in Illinois. But it's all over. Like I said, Psalm 53, just read it. Read the first 3 chapters, three verses. You get God's perspective on what I'm talking about. And I look, what Jesus did at the cross fixes everything. What's the problem? People still want to do their own thing. That's the essence of pride. It doesn't matter that Jesus did what he did. The way people look at it is like, well, I can live my way I want to live now. You don't understand. Who is the boss? Who is the boss? You know why he had to do what he did? Because read Hosea chapter 1 and 2, I think. About the Hosea being told to marry a prostitute because of all the immorality throughout the land. And then, there's a narrative there with regards to the nation of Israel. There was a divorce. God had, because Israel, there was a separation. There was a division between Judea and Israel. And what had to happen was for there to be reconciliation, was essentially there had to be there was a death penalty. The divorce, an adulterous wife in the Old Testament, if a wife was accused of adultery, basically she had to drink bitter water, and if the belly swelled up and the legs withered, she was guilty. And then she was stoned to death. Jesus, on the cross, belly swelled, legs withered. So he's taken on that role. And he's crucified, dies, he pays the price of the adulterous wife, which is Israel in this case. And so he earned his right to be. The church is the bride of Christ. He's the husband. So he earned that right. What's causing, though, even the church today, no different than what's going on in Israel? Pride at the end of the day. It's about, I want to do it my way. And so that's what I see going on in our country. And it's what I see going on everywhere. Workplace. I see it going on at the universities. I see it going on in the government. You name it, I can see it. I want to do it my way. The church refusing to give up certain things. Refusing to give up the pagan feasts. When it's clear that God is trying to bring something to happen. But the church is refusing to get on God's calendar. It's the essence of pride. I want to do it my way. So I will continue to serve the Lord His way. Shabbat Shalom.
Goodbye, Toledo.